So hello, hi, and welcome to Vanessa Loves. Today we are having conversations about what really matters, conversations around where we can help ourselves feel deeply connected to self, others, and the planet. And today, Vanessa loves Oliver Dolby. Hello, Oliver. How are you today?
Hello, Vanessa. It's great to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me.
Not at all, not at all. When I think about what Vanessa loves and what's really important to me and what really matters, and that is about sharing the love and experiencing the love, you are one of the top names on my list. So it goes without, a shadow of a doubt that I wanted to involve you in having these conversations. And I only met you 3 or 4 months ago, where I sat next to you at a conference, and
That's
I
right.
firmly believe that I am divinely guided all the time, but this particular day on the 7th of February, I was meant to sit next to you. So can you please share with me, because you've had a profound effect on my life and my energy healing over the last few months, but can you please share with us what really matters to you?
Wow, what matters to me? There's so much that matters to me, but I think if we bring it down to one concept, it would be the power of love.
Yes.
Because love is one of the strongest forces in the world. In fact, probably the universe, or maybe even the multiverse, the power of love. Because nothing can beat love. But yet so many of us don't love ourselves.
No.
It's one of those things that you actually can't survive without. There are cases of young mothers who are very young. They look after their young baby, they feed the baby, they clean the baby, and they change the baby, but the baby starts to deteriorate because they haven't learned how to love their baby. The baby goes back to the hospital. The first thing that happens is the nurses go, oh, could you, and they shower the baby with love, and the baby starts to thrive.
Wow.
And yet, the baby goes home to the mother. 2 weeks later, the baby's poorly again, back to the hospital. And they realized that they had to teach young mothers in particular, we're talking teenage mothers here, how to love their children.
Wow.
And I'm sure most mothers and fathers out there know that when the child is screaming and won't eat, and they're stressed about feeding and homework for the other kids, and in walks granny or grandma, and they pick up the child, and the child goes to sleep blissfully, just like that. Why? Because granny's heart's wide open and just showers the child with this beautiful love.
Yeah.
And everything's resolved. Now, of course, as we grow up, we don't need granny's love anymore as much. We think we're sort of a teenager now. We've got to experience the heart. We've got to go out and we've got to have those relationships. And some of them are good and some of them are bad. And some of those crushes, when the person doesn't even know you have a crush on them, but your heart still gets broken when they go for somebody else. We've all had that experience. It's all about us learning about the different colors, vibrations of love.
Wow.
Now, of course, what happens when we get into our 20s and 30s, we should have a good understanding of love. And we're looking for that person that's going to fill our cup, and we're going to fill their cup with love. But what happens is we haven't actually learned to love ourselves. And if you can't love yourself, you can't really love anybody else.
No.
If your cup is half empty and you want the other person to fill your cup up, and their cup is also half empty, guess what? It's only going to go backwards and forwards, and it's going to be completely unsatisfactory.
Absolutely. But we don't understand that unsatisfaction comes from the place of I'm deluded if I think you're going to fill me up. And we're not taught, are we, how to fill ourselves up or how to love ourselves in school.
No. And I think that's something that you learn various aspects of it. I mean, there's very, very many aspects to love. There's the love of a parent, which is that unconditional love. There's a love for a sibling. There's a love for a pet. There's love for a grandparent. There's the love for a friend, which is different to a love for a partner.
Exactly.
Right? And we have all these different concepts and ideas of love. And each one gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Each one takes us more and more deeper into our hearts, opening our hearts up so that ultimately we can understand a whole rainbow worth of love and be able to love unconditionally.
Yes, but it's not just about people either, is it? Because you can love activities or the creative things that bring you joy, or and I think the danger I know I've experienced in myself before I really understood what all this love game was about, if you like, is that I thought it was about just the receiving from another person, and it's so not.
Well, receiving from another person needs to happen, but you also need to be able to give. But firstly, you've got to learn to give to yourself.
Massively
Because
so.
if you can't give to yourself, you can't actually receive anybody else's love.
That is exactly what I experienced in 2017 when I very first met Jay. I was in a place where I had, for the first time, I think, cultivated that, that generated that love for myself. I'd fallen in love with myself, I think, for the first time, in the fact where I really accepted and appreciated myself. And then when I met him, I realized I wasn't there, because I really struggled with the attention from him. I really struggled with the way he wanted to care for me. And I was resistant to let it in for the fear of being hurt. So there was still some more work for me to do on myself, and really learning to constantly evolve in my own journey of loving self. Because I think one thing I've experienced over the years, especially when I have conversations with people or I've worked with people, is people think self-love is a conceited thing. If it's, I love myself kind of thing, it's, and I think that connotation is what people get caught up in.
And that's very easy to say. It's very easy to say, I love myself, but what meaning does it have? And it's something you're not going to say to the world. It's to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's that learning to embrace who I am, accept myself. I was going to say warts and all, but the light and the dark, if you like, and learning how to fully appreciate myself. That I can't love anybody else until I have that for myself. That's a really big lesson to learn, though, isn't it, Oliver?
Absolutely. And the thing is, it can be quite a painful process, right? As that heart begins to open, it's like a flower that's forcing itself open, and it can be painful.
Yeah.
You can feel like someone has got you by the heart and is squeezing, or a bad case of indigestion, or someone steamrolled over your heart. But the beautiful thing about it, the heart always becomes stronger, and your capacity to love yourself and others grows exponentially.
I think that's what I've enjoyed most about this whole process of discovering myself and learning to love myself, is the capacity. It begins at this, and then you just feel, don't you, that you just get bigger, like it's limitless. Whereas you think that your heart is this big, that's all you've got. No. And then now when I go into one of my favorite meditations, is where I feel the light from my heart vibrating and extending out into the room I'm in. I think it's a Merkaba meditation, into the room I'm in, and then my house, and then my lane, and then my county, and then I just feel this light envelop the whole world, and you just feel that you could just keep going on forever. Now that's a concept that took me ages to get my head and my heart around when I very first started doing that, and it does take practice.
It does. Meditation, anything like that, any sort of spiritual training takes a lot of practice. You've got to put the time into it. But it can be very simple to start with. You can just start with a smile, right?
I love that.
And just smile at yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And when you smile, you change the energy.
Yeah.
You automatically change your energy.
Yeah.
Right? You change the energy of the room that you're in. And if you're with a group of people, which you aren't these days because we're all 2 meters apart from each other, but you can actually change their energy.
Yeah.
Just by smiling at them.
So where do you think people struggle with even smiling sometimes? Because if they it's infectious. When somebody smiles at you, you smile back. I love smiling. But some people find themselves, I've smiled at people and they've instinctively smiled back, and then they retract, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm smiling too much. Where's that resistance come from?
I think we have fears of, if someone smiles at us, what do they want from us? And I think that is an energy that society has adopted, where there's this, if you speak to me or smile at me, it means you want something from me, and I don't want to give you anything because it's all mine.
Either that, or I
And
don't want to give it to you because I'm frightened that I will reveal too much of myself, maybe, or I'll be
maybe,
hurt, or wow.
yes, it's based on fear. It's based on fear, and that's what we're in this right now. We're with this sort of, no one knows what's happening to this world and how it's changing so rapidly. People are getting themselves trapped in fear, and so why not smile? Because smile takes away that fear.
Yeah,
Have a good laugh. That takes away fear as well.
I love that.
And if you can't laugh, think about a time that made you really happy.
Yeah.
It could be a time with a loved one. It could be time alone. It could be time in the mountains, on the beach, in the sea, swimming, whatever brings you joy.
Yeah.
Think of that time, and you will raise your vibrational energy so far that it'll take you out of any depression or any sort of fear-based feelings.
Yeah. And then the importance is to remind yourself to keep going there.
Absolutely.
Is to keep experiencing that joy, is to keep experiencing that love, is to keep smiling at yourself. Because I talk a lot about, you can't just smile on a Monday morning and expect to still be happy on a Sunday night. You know, you can't. It's a continual practice. It's you can't.
It is because there's layers, right? You can't go from not loving yourself to agape, world love, world compassion with one smile.
No.
You're going to have to do the journey.
Yeah.
You have to look at yourself.
Yeah.
Why don't I like smiling? Why don't I love myself? Why don't I give myself the time to reflect and look inwards and see what I'm hiding from myself? Because remember, we hide stuff from ourselves. I've got a carpet inside here, which I sweep everything I don't want to deal with under and put it down very neatly. So it's all nice and clean in my head. But don't worry, there's a carpet with a great big mound of stuff that needs sorting out.
I totally get that. I've got a cupboard.
Yeah, cupboard, carpet, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We can sweep things in and close the doors and hide them.
Deny it.
When you start to love yourself, and I don't mean saying, oh yeah, I love myself, that's how I go out in the world and conquer the world by love. No, it's introspective, looking inwards, doing stuff for you only.
Yes.
And for most of us, that is simple as giving ourselves 10 minutes of time without the phone, the distractions, the kids, the emails pinging off, the mental to-do list. I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be doing all these things. Right? Giving ourselves 10 minutes just to shut that mind up and turn the phone off.
Yeah. I've got the phrase be with myself, just really allow myself to be with myself. And I've really learned over the last 3 or 4 years since I went through my big reflection, was that just by sitting with myself, and one of the best ways I trained myself was to stare at a flame, because I really struggled with actually, well, how do I be with myself? Whereas I would just stare at a flame or a flower, and then I would just feel myself, as in, what could I feel inside me, what was going on? And then I learned to understand that to be energy, and then I recognized that that feeling would go in one of two directions. So it would either come up to my heart, or it would but it would always meet here. And it was almost just like wind had got trapped, if you like, for want of a better expression. And as soon as it would be painful, and it would hurt, and then as soon as it got to here, I would be like, oh, where did it go? And
you're doing there, you're doing something very interesting techniques where you're drawing up the energy from the earth, from Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And you're drawing that energy up through your core, and it's coming up to your heart. Yeah. At the same time, you're drawing down the energy of the sun, the God, the light, the universe, whatever you want to call it, coming down. And you're bringing those two energies together. And as those two energies merge together, they are opening your heart. Just that little bit more.
Exactly. And it just really feels like my heart swelling, if you like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then
brilliant. That's amazing.
And learning that when the two merge together, that sort of marriage, that union, is where they sort of, it felt like it was diffused, because it sort of just became a whole, if that makes sense, as in two hearts. it's like two bits had come together to make that completeness.
Well, it's the yin and the yang, isn't it? The yin
Yeah.
and the yang coming together in perfect balance.
Yeah.
And in that perfect balance, things change. You know, energy is so quick. It's instantaneous.
Instantaneous. Yeah.
When you turn the light switch on, you don't have to count to 10 for the light to go on.
No.
It's on.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you change some of your energy with your intention, with your thoughts, with the God force and the mother force coming together, it changes. You change.
Yeah.
That's how quick change happens.
So
and we do it all the time without realizing it.
Yeah, massively so. And because I know I've really benefited from my energy healing sessions with you. I remember sitting next to you and telling you about some stuff and stories and the things I'd struggled with and what I'd worked out, etc. And whatever I told you didn't faze you at all. You just sort of sat there and you literally held it all. Whereas before, if I've shared it with people, they've gone, ooh, you know, kind of made comment and stuff, and you were nodding in all the right place, you know, and you sort of accepted what I was saying to you. And I just really felt that you were the person to help me on the next stage of my healing journey. And we had 3 or 4 sessions before lockdown. Yes. And I felt totally liberated after each and every time. And then you gave me some practices to use, which I remember telling you about one of them, and I practiced it instant like that. Now I've experienced that myself, but for people who haven't experienced any type of healing, do you think, and I know this has been my experience, do you think that they don't believe in the instantaneousness of it? They can't believe it could be that simple. It's not easy. They can't believe it's that simple. So, well, I just won't bother. Surely. Is it a lack of education? Is it resistance to going there?
Well, I think it's a journey that everybody has to take.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has to go on a journey. People say, oh, you can see auras. Well, yes, I can see auras. But could I when I started this journey? No.
No.
Did I want to when I started? Not particularly. Right? Why would I want to see something that nobody else could see?
Yeah.
And my journey started many, many years ago. I always wanted to be a magician. Okay, so as a kid, I had all the kits with all the balls and all the cards, and yet my fingers just couldn't work this magic. And then I thought, well, there must be some real magic out there. But you know what? Life takes you on a journey, and you go, and your school doesn't want you to become a magician, so that was out of the question straight away. And I sort of had to follow a career of some description. But I was very fortunate that I got to travel around the world, many different places, where I experienced some weird energies, some very dark energies in places, and some very light energy, some very uplifting and powerful energy.
Wow.
And so I knew that energy was real, but I didn't know how I would ever use it. Now, my background, I'm trained a mountaineer. I'm a rock climbing instructor. I trained to a very, very high level, and I started teaching rock climbing to the instructor level.
Wow.
Something that not many people know about me.
No.
And it was one of my clients back in South Africa, where I'm originally from, who said to me, you've got to go and see this doctor. He'll cure your asthma, because I was asthmatic. He'll cure your asthma. And I was like, nah. And I thought, well, eventually I phoned up and made an appointment. And it turned out to be a chiropractor. And with a couple of clicks on my back and some homeopathics, I was actually allergic to the pollens, the grass pollens. And I'd been on inhalers from the age of about 8.
Wow.
And that I was about, I don't know, early 20s when I was teaching rock climbing to this lady. And then she said, right, asthma is great, finished, solved, fantastic. Now we're going to study NLP and hypnosis, and we're going to the States. And I said, wait, I've got no money. I can't go to the States. She said, yes, you can. I'm paying for it. And so this lady became like a great aunt who wanted to help me on this spiritual journey.
Fantastic.
And we ended up doing a lot of courses together. Obviously, the hypnosis and the timeline therapy. We studied a technique called body alignment technique, which is all about energy and putting energy into certain access points to balance the organs, clear emotions, work with the etheric energy, the unseen energy, the causal bodies. Fascinating stuff. And she wanted me to become a teacher of this. And so she actually paid for me to do it on the teacher training session.
Wow.
Now, what happened at that time, you know how life has these funny curveballs that it throws at you. I got married and I became a type 1 diabetic.
Right.
I was insulin dependent. I still am. And it just stopped any interest that I had in energy work. At that stage, I had a few people that I was seeing quite regularly, but I just stopped. And my whole life changed. I withdrew from the mountaineering and the healing, and I found myself in the Cayman Islands, working on the Cayman Islands in construction at the end of the day.
Wow.
Then the big financial crisis hit the world, about 2007, thereabouts. So we left the Cayman Islands, came back to South Africa. Now, postcard, my life was great. Cayman Islands, people jealous of myself, my wife, living in the Cayman Islands. They thought we had this wonderful existence in paradise. You know, Cayman Islands sounds wonderful.
It's a beautiful part of the world.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
But after 2 weeks, it's not a holiday.
No.
For 2 weeks, it's a job.
Yeah.
After 6 months, it's a terrible job.
Mm.
After a year, you realize you're not being paid enough.
No.
Right? So paradise and our relationship was starting to fall apart, starting to break down. But of course, you come back to South Africa, got a job in construction again, because it seemed like the right thing to do. And my wife decided that she had enough. She wanted to go and take photographs in Bahrain. And she left to go to Bahrain.
Wow.
And so, but you know, you got this thought about, well, we got married. I've got to go over there. I've got to go and try and make it work, because that's what we just said, till death do us part, you know, all those sort of commitments. But we really weren't on the same page at all. We'd drifted so far apart. To cut a long story short, doing this renovation, this lady's house, and I'm helping her unpack, move back in, and she's got these great big crystals, and they're really wonderful, helping them carry them into her healing room. And she said, she was heavily pregnant at the time. And she said to me, Oliver, when I've had my baby and my healing room's ready, you've got to come for a session. Now, of course, it was Christmas time and she was heavily pregnant. And I knew by January, February, she'll have forgotten. So I said yes, politely. End of January, she calls me. Okay, I make an excuse. You know, February, she calls me. Really? Again? You're calling me again? Make an excuse. March, she called me. April, she called me. May, she called me. And eventually in June, I thought the only way I'm going to shut this woman up from phoning me every month is to go for this damn session.
Yeah.
So I went for this session, and she did something to me, which you have an idea. Session's going to be like this. You've got this mental picture of what a session's going to be. There's going to be a therapy table.
Yeah.
There's going to be some tools or some solution. She might squeeze your shoulder or put an elbow in you to release some tension, or she might put her hands on and let some Reiki energy come into you. It was nothing like that at all. But when I left after an hour, I found myself in a place of joy.
Wow.
I was humming to myself as I drove home. There was, in fact, I shocked myself. Were those sounds coming out of my mouth? I actually had to pull the car to the side of the road and got out and went, I really feel good. This joy is just bubbling out of every cell of my body.
Wow. And you were challenging that. You were like, is this actually me?
Yes, absolutely. Because I probably hadn't hummed since 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
And then being kicked out of the choir because your voice was about to break, and that was it. You were unwanted.
Yeah.
And this feeling has still stayed with me. Obviously, it keeps changing. You keep changing, obviously. So I have massive amount of joy, and of course, I couldn't share with anybody. I couldn't share with absolutely anybody because
they thought you would think you were crazy, or just nobody that you knew was on the same page as you, or.
Well, there's my friend who'd taken me around the world had passed away, right. So she was no longer around. I sort of told my mother, but your mother's always, yes, okay, yeah, right, but yeah, I don't feel anything, I don't see anything, so okay, carry on. The boys around the pub, well, you couldn't talk about energy with boys around the pub. You'd have a beer with them, but you certainly couldn't talk about feeling full of joy and in love with yourself, yeah. Could you?
Yeah, I love that.
But I did contact my wife. Had not, well, our communication was almost zero. She wanted me to go over there. I didn't really want to go over there. And then she sent me an email. It says, Oliver, it feels like someone has taken a pair of scissors and cut us apart. And that's when I knew what had happened in that session was actually correct. And that's when I got my sort of second wind to finding about energy and started to find out, right, that really worked. I feel really good. Let me go and study some more. Let me learn some more about energy. Let me learn some more about this magical session that has happened.
Yeah, the power of love, effectively.
Power of love.
Power of love.
And whatever sacred stuff she had done. And it was very sacred. Yeah. So I studied in Canada. I studied in Ireland. I studied in London. And obviously I studied in around Cape Town. So being all the way around the world, gathering pieces of very, very powerful knowledge. Yeah. Some of it very ancient and some of it very modern. All right. The ancient stuff has incredible power because it's time tested.
Yes.
But it just needs to be updated with a modern field.
Absolutely. So that it's more acceptable. It's more accessible for people nowadays. It's the language around these subjects is more to date, so that people understand it. Whereas that's where I think it can be seen as a bit woo-woo if we use to. But does that make sense?
Yes. The thing is, once you're on this journey, you start to test out many things. And I would encourage anybody to really test what they're going to be studying or the therapist they're going to see. Test them first.
Yeah.
Find out, does it resonate with me?
Yeah.
This new session of having a teaspoon of sand for breakfast is going to heal your cancer. Does it resonate with you? Does your gut say yes or no?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
because there's a lot of people out there offering stuff which is really, really harmful for the physical body and energetic body. But they think and truly believe that they're doing light work.
Yes.
So always ask the question, ask yourself, does it work? And trust your first instinct. Don't trust the logic and don't trust the testimonials. Now, obviously my business relies on testimonials, but I'm telling you not to trust it.
Yeah.
Find something and ask yourself inside, will it work for me?
Yeah. And I think that's what trips people up, because then people say to me, I don't know what you mean. I don't understand. Or you ask them a question and, you know, what's that feeling? Or and they'll go, you can see them going straight to their head. And it's like, don't edit it, because we are not taught to trust and listen to self. You know, when you ask anybody to point to themselves, they never do this or this. They always point to their hearts, but we're not encouraged to appreciate that that's actually who we are. I'm not Vanessa. I'm not a woman. You know, this is just my earth suit.
This is your car that you're driving right now.
Yeah, this is it. This is the vehicle. This is the vehicle.
Yes.
And trying to get my head around that in the early days, because numbing was my thing. I completely numbed myself out, so I didn't feel any of my pain. I didn't feel any of the shame and the fear, and because I had never really felt safe. It wasn't safe to be me. That was my story. And whenever I showed up in the world, or whenever I expressed myself, my true self, whenever I was in my joy, whenever I was expressing my love and really what I call opening myself up in all my glory, I was hurt, abused, attacked, all of those things growing up, that I was just like, this isn't safe for me to be me. So you just then start relying on this bit, you know, the bit that you see, rather than actually. So numbing myself out became what I did. So to feel, so many people do it. More people do it than I think they care to admit. And you were saying earlier at the top of the call that, you know, we will never find it outside of ourselves, whether it's in, I numbed myself out with perfectionism, food, and codependency, so other people.
Firstly, perfection is always there, and you can never get to it.
You never get to it.
Because there's always a new level of perfection.
Exactly, and it felt like you're always chasing it. But it was, so that's how I kind of numb myself out. So for me to feel was really scary, and I think that's, in my experience, what people really struggle with. So when we say really feel, really listen, and really, people just go, I get that. But how do I do that? And it really does take it takes a level of compassion, empathy, and understanding from
But you
somebody
also
else.
have to give yourself permission to change.
Exactly. And I
Okay?
think that's
Permission to heal, permission to grow, permission to change, permission to want more of yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And to give yourself time to
Yeah.
ask those questions of yourself. Because it's very easy to be distracted. We are programmed to be distracted continuously. You know, our Facebook profiles tell us how many people have liked our new picture, right? And they stagger it to keep us absorbed. So they don't tell you 50 people liked it now. They'll tell you 10 people liked it now. And guess what? In 5 hours' time, you'll get another 2 people. Then suddenly you'll get 50 people. They're programming you to be addicted to these things. So we're constantly being distracted. And that's why it's so important to give yourself, to start off with those 10 minutes. Just those 10 minutes. And then you can build 10 minutes to 20 minutes. And then you'd be able to increase the focus. And once you've used your focus comes from 2 points. It comes from your mind with the idea, the focus, but then it comes from your will, your intention, your will center, which is the Hara chakra. That chakra, which is that energy center, which is just below your belly button. That is your will center. That's where you have this power, this divine gift that says, this is my will and this is what I'm going to do. And most of us have stopped and closed down that chakra.
That makes
our will is whatever our phone tells us to do, whatever our job says us to do.
Or
And
what
we
we're
live this
expected.
joyless life where we're just living.
Was existing was the word
Existing.
that was the word that I found, that's when the way I was living became unacceptable. Something had to change, and I just literally was in that place where I was like, I'm utterly existing. I'm expected to be here. I'm expected to do this. I'm expected to think this and say this. And it was just, I just had completely lost myself. I just didn't even know who I was, and I didn't even know the person I'd become. And that's when it was very much like, you know, I know now is the time to choose myself. But then it was very much like, how on earth do I do that? And it was
my journey was very similar. So I was just surviving. So it wasn't, my word was survival. That's all it was, just survival and just surviving.
So,
and
I was going to say, so on that note, pre-lockdown to where we are right now with this global pandemic, existing and survival is probably what a lot of people would have used to describe themselves or their lives. They're bored, they're apathetic, they're fearful, they're frustrated, all of these really low level vibe energy feelings, limiting feelings. So we have been, quite frankly, and I was describing to somebody the other day, it's almost like Mother Nature has said, you naughty, go and sit on the naughty step, go and think about what you've been doing. So we've been forced to sit on the naughty step to think about what we're doing and to reflect and to go, you know what? And the people that have said, oh, I can't wait for it to get back to normal. First of all, I don't want to go backwards ever. I want to let go and I want to move forwards.
And normal is going to be different.
And normal is going to be different.
Completely different.
Completely different. So we were caterpillar, we're in the cocoon. And you said earlier about it being painful, is that it is necessary for the butterfly to squeeze itself out of the hole of the cocoon.
Absolutely.
Press the fluid from its body into its wings so it can fly.
Absolutely. Otherwise it doesn't fly.
Otherwise it doesn't fly. So the healing work that you do, and you are very gracious, and I've loved my sessions with you, and you've taught me so much because you really do allow the energy to pass through you. It's not really Oliver doing anything, is it?
No.
Do you know what I mean? And I mean that, I mean that, with the greatest of respect, but it's about being the vessel, isn't it? To be able to align energies, and I know you are doing it because you know what to do, and the implements that you use for
it's giving people permission to heal, and it's giving people a place to do it, even on a Zoom call, to be able to create that space around the person so that they can heal.
Brilliant.
And that they can understand that it's a journey, and it's what we go to the gym and we go, right, today I'm going to do 100 press-ups. Well, guess what? You can't do 100 press-ups.
No.
You probably can't even do one. Maybe your knees have to be on the floor.
Yeah.
And you do one. That's
Yeah.
great. That's a start.
Yeah.
And you start to build up that muscle, that energetic muscle, to become this person who can do 100 push-ups.
Brilliant.
The same with your energetic health,
Mm.
right? We used to go out a lot into the world, and we'd be in a really good space, and suddenly we come in contact with someone, a friend or something, and next thing we're coming home, we're feeling absolutely drained. What happened to our energy? Our energy field got affected by that other person.
Yeah.
It got drained. Right? You go outside now, you go to the supermarket to buy your essentials, and guess what? You're walking into a wall of fear.
Mm. Mm.
Right?
Mm.
Walking down the pavement, and people are crossing the road to stay away from you. Fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
You try and smile at them, and they're hiding because they don't want to see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just in case you cough or sneeze on them. Right? But we're
Really,
across the road.
Yeah. Yeah. All fear-based.
Okay, it's all fear-based, and what it does is putting you in a very, very bad way energetically.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
causing that energy body. Your energy body is your force field.
Mm.
Imagine a Star Wars ship with this blue force field around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more it gets hit, the more it weakens and comes down. Now, if you're in a place of fear, your energy body, your aura, comes right down, really close to the body.
And your focus becomes so narrow.
And you start to cross your arms.
Yeah.
Because you're in a fearful state.
Yeah.
You want to avoid people because your energy body has been destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Turn that around to a place when you're falling in love, right? You're holding hands, walking down the beach, whatever it might be, wherever it is, going out for a meal. Your energy field is full of love. Boom.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Guess what? People notice you.
Mm.
You suddenly become the most beautiful person in the room.
Exactly. It kind of
because you're in love.
Yeah, makes you, and in love we mean not necessarily with that person, but just in the vibration of love.
In the vibration of love, yes.
Opens you up. It really does strengthen you physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It is like you say, it's the strongest force.
Your force field nothing can get through that force field.
No.
It's very, very rare for anything to get through and to damage you physically from that force field.
And it's learning how to stay in that place, isn't it, Oliver?
Yes,
as well, you can't just be in it and that's it. Woohoo! I'm here forever.
No, because we have these patterns. We work on patterns. Our energy system works on patterns. Our thoughts work on patterns. There's much research saying that we only have about 5 or 6 new thoughts a day. The rest are all repeats of patterns that we've set up.
Yeah.
And a great example is that 3 o'clock chocolate biscuit you've got to have with your tea, because that's sort of the energy slump at the end of the day, and you know you've got another 2 hours of work to get through. But you know the chocolate biscuit is making you fat, so you say to yourself, right, on Monday, I'm not going to have the chocolate biscuit, I'm just going to have the cup of tea. Monday comes, the phones are ringing, you find yourself eating the chocolate biscuit without even realizing it.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, it's one of your co-workers' birthday. You can't say no to the chocolate cake, can you? So I'll start on Wednesday. So you start on Wednesday. Wednesday's okay. You sort of manage through. You battle through. But by Thursday, you really want that biscuit. And you take that biscuit. And then, of course, it's all over because you can't start a diet on a Thursday or a Friday. You've got to start on a Monday.
Yeah.
So what happens is you've identified a thought, a thought pattern that's not good for you. And you've gone, boom, I don't want you in my brain, so I'm going to put you out here in your aura. Now, what happens is at 3 o'clock, unconsciously, you look up and you see this chocolate biscuit floating over there, right? But no, you avoid it and you're okay. But the phone starts ringing and you get distracted and you find yourself eating it.
Yeah.
Now, energetically, what we can do is we can go in there and take that thought and literally cut it out of your aura and it's gone. That way, you have a much better chance of sticking to your diet because that thought's not there in your unconscious mind's sight, the unseen sight.
Wow. And that in itself is liberating, isn't it? Because then it makes way. You can then choose other thoughts that do serve you, and create new habits. And yeah, so this is all incredibly powerful work. And at the moment, while we're in lockdown, you can't obviously see people face to face, but you can do sessions over Zoom if they want to
Yes,
understand
I've
more.
been doing sessions on Zoom, and it's actually working really well now.
Good.
Because I can get a lot more done in that hour, because there's none of the sort of pre-stuff, take your coat off, hang it on the door,
Yeah,
sit
chit
down,
chat.
how you doing,
How
chit
are
chat.
you?
I go straight in there,
Yeah,
set up the
yeah.
space, get a bit of feedback first, obviously, to find out how a person's doing, where they're going, and we go straight in there, and we start clearing. And I talk about we, it's about myself plus the unseen forces that work with me, because they do. I'm helped a lot by the spirit world in doing this work. And they really come down in their droves to help humans, to help us.
Yes.
In any way, any shape or form that they can.
And I've experienced that myself.
It's very humbling to be able to work with I'm going to call it the other side for now.
Yeah.
In this way, because yes, I'm directing the energy, but literally they're doing the work.
Yeah.
And it's very, very empowering for the person receiving, and very humbling to be able to do such high level work for people, for individuals and groups.
Yeah. And you recognizing that you have that gift, you were literally asked physically by two different people, because they saw it in you. You then followed your journey, you followed your heart, you extended your knowledge, and you practice what you preach, and now you apply that to other people. And I'm also really excited about your new course that you've got coming up in May. I'm on board, because I want to learn more about that. So can you just give us a little?
So this is a 2-day class that I teach, but obviously we're in lockdown and I can't work with a group of people in the class, so I'm doing it online. I'm doing it over 7 evenings.
Okay.
And over the 7 evenings, we'll cover 10 different meditations. Now, these are alchemical meditations. They are about change. They're about changing you. So it's not just like a guided visualization, or it's not just about sitting quietening your mind. This is real alchemy taking place, where you will change.
Good.
The first one is to meet your higher self. Okay? Your higher self, or the higher part of you, the higher knowledge of you, that greater person than you are, right? Who you will become, by the way, at points. And to form a relationship with them. Okay, very, very important to form the relationship with that higher self, so that you can start to get a sense of trust, what's right and wrong. It helps you really get that intuitive feeling back if you feel that you've lost that. And then we go on to obviously different meditations, different things. We meet the elements, earth, water, air, fire, and get to play with the energy of water or the energy of air. And they teach us. They're great teachers. They want to help us.
Absolutely.
And then we step it out a bit and we go higher. We start to work with the masters of light. So the masters of light, there are thousands of masters of light, but the ones that people really know about would be the Master Jesus, the Master Buddha, the Master Muhammad, Kuan Yin, the Master Merlin. There's thousands of masters who are all beings that have been here on Earth and have experienced the earthly plane. It can teach us elements to life. And so you will have an encounter with one of those masters. Then we move on another day to going into the archangels and working with the archangels, which is also very, very exciting, because you really, really get to meet some incredibly powerful angels and angelic forces. I mean, there's thousands of angels in this world. In fact, there's an infinite number of angels. If you want help, just ask an angel.
Yeah.
Right? There is an angel responsible for this cup. Right?
Wow.
There's an angel responsible for the tea inside. Okay? So if you need help with anything, you can always just ask an angel and just say it out loud.
And
okay, don't say it in your head. Say it out loud.
And that's what you'll help us with on this course, is to connect to that place, how to communicate with angels, archangels, our guides, and how to invite them in.
Absolutely. It's 10 incredibly powerful meditations that will really allow you to really focus in on who you are and what you want out of life. And also at the same time, it'll stop you needing to ask others for advice, because you can say, should I do this job or should I do this job?
Mm.
And you can go up and ask your higher self.
Mm.
And it can
Brilliant.
take it with practice. It's a matter of seconds. And your higher self will say yes or no.
And that's where the truth is. The truth isn't necessarily going to come from an outside source, an outside person, because they've got
I
their
can
own,
baffle you
their
with
own
logic about why you should be doing this.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
baffle your logic why you should be doing that. And both might be wrong for you.
yeah. So the lessons that we wished we were taught in school is how to listen to self, how to connect to self, and how to connect with our higher power is what's
Exactly.
available to us in this
Exactly.
7-night course
Yes.
with what
Yeah.
you're doing. Well, I'll pop the information for that with the blurb of this video. I have, as ever, I thoroughly enjoy being in your magical space.
Well, thank you.
I loved hearing that you wanted to be a magician, because in actual fact, we don't know quite what we're asking for when we're kids, when we're young. But dare I say it, I think you have quite possibly fulfilled your childhood dream, because what you do is magic and how you do it is magic. I've experienced that. I invite anybody else to experience a session with you. Follow what you do, see what you do, read the testimonials, because I know I've written you one. I know I've had chats with other people that have experienced your sessions, your healing, your wisdom, your knowledge. And if you are somebody that wants to experience any type of healing on any level of your physical or non-physical self, then Oliver is the person to at least follow and have a look and see if it works for you. But you are a guiding light, and I'm very grateful for you. I'm very blessed that I sat next to you on the 7th of February, and I consider myself very blessed indeed. So thank you for sharing
Thank
this.
you.
Vanessa Loves space with me. Oh, you're welcome. No, I mean it from my heart to yours. And yeah, just we'll catch up again. But I'm looking forward to your course for sure. I'm also joining you on your meditation tonight that you are holding.
Yes, you are indeed. Yeah, that's going to be another one of those journeys, and we don't know where we're going to end up.
I love it. I just like, where are we going today? But thank you for giving me the permission to really accept myself even further on my ever-evolving journey. And I will look forward to catching up with you again soon, Oliver. God bless you.
God bless. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Take care, lovely. Bye-bye.